What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Game Time here on the Game Time Sports Channel. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, joined as always by a man who is riding a 4-game winning streak, heading into a massive battle with the Philadelphia Eagles. It is his Dallas Cowboys. That's Winston A. Marshall. How are you, Winston?
14-0 at home in the last 14 game, baby. I'm doing just fine. Just fine, and we're going to extend that, and we're going to really make the supposed NFC champions feel like ass, like boo-boo, just complete like cheeks. They're going to be just so embarrassed, especially because it's my motherfucking birthday on Sunday. So you think the Eagles get to come in on my birthday and kiss my ass? Hell no. Nah. You about to get the work, baby, and I cannot fucking wait, especially because we already almost gotten that ass. You got lucky last time that all of a sudden out of nowhere, this one lineman who can't decide if he wants to be good or not is going to allow for 2 sacks. Like literally just let it go on by. I'm supposed to let nobody come see Dak, but if you want to go see Dak, man, I mean, he's the hottest quarterback in the league. Go say hi. Like, fuck you. Wow.
Strong statements, man. Strong statements for sure. There you go. But yeah, we're set up for a hell of a matchup in the NFC East next week. And dude, this is like the movies that you and I will also talk movies on our separate channels as well. And you know, the fall is when the big movies are coming out. They're in contention for Oscar films, right? Oscar categories rather. And here we have the NFL coming into the fall as well. Fantastic headlining games almost every week now for the last few weeks. And this weekend was no different with that San Francisco 49ers, Philadelphia Eagles game. So we got a lot to get into. And next week, it'll be the Cowboys and Eagles that are probably the highlight game of the week. And that's going to be a fun one to watch. And for me, as an impartial observer, it'll be a fun one to watch, see what happens for sure. We got so much to get into here in the world of professional sports, especially the NFL. And we are absolutely going to talk about my Florida State Seminoles getting fucked over by a corrupt college football playoff committee. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but let's get into all the NFL stuff. And a reminder, the Streamlabs are open. Send in your Streamlabs support. Come on, it's Christmas, y'all. Send in some presents. Send in some support through your Streamlabs. You see the address there on the screen. I'm going to pin it in the chat in just a second. But let's get into the first game here, Winston, and that is, as I said, San Francisco 49ers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia, a rematch of the NFC Championship game. This time, Brock Purdy played for the whole game in this one, and all the predictions that people had made after that NFC Championship game that the Eagles essentially were lucky that the 49ers didn't have Brock Purdy came true in this game. They demolished them 42-19. After kind of a lackadaisical first quarter for the 49ers, they all of a sudden turn on the Jets and just demolish these Eagles. Brock Purdy threw for 314 yards and 4 touchdowns. Deebo Samuel scored 3 touchdowns and had 4 catches for 116 yards and 3 carries for 22 yards. Hurts finished 26 of 45 for 298 yards. He also had a scary concussion moment as well. And even the head of security of the Eagles got into it with Greenlaw, the linebacker there for the 49ers, and they both got ejected. So it was a crazy game from top to bottom. But at the end, the 49ers come out of this thing with, I think, their 4th straight win after those 3 losses in the bye. And they look good, man. They look like they're back to form, Winston. What are your thoughts coming out of this game for both of these teams?
Okay, so I've got something that I want to screen share. Don't open it yet. But
okay,
you know how like it's one of those, like there's times in life where you try and tell people that a thing is a thing, but they don't listen or they're not paying attention. And then when it's finally presented to them, they go, "What the fuck? Has that been the case the whole time?" So here's one example of that. If you go ahead and share my screen share here.
You want me to put this up?
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay. All right. I'm a little nervous putting this
up. No, you'll be fine. I done told y'all that Liz McGuire, that Miss Hillary Duff was out here in these streets. Like she got dubbed Hillary Buff last week. I made the comment. I said, every brother in America's like, when that Lizzie McGuire reboot coming and whatnot. That's because I done tried to tell y'all. Ever since she became a mama, she got into lifting and whatnot. She bad, bro. And you know who else is bad, but not in a good way? The motherfucking Eagles. I try to tell y'all, man. You can take it off now. It's fine.
Okay.
I do think that they have something. They're still one of the best teams in football, and they can do the whole damn thing. But the writing has been on the wall that there are problems because while you had moments where AJ Brown was cooking folks,
yes,
he's been pretty silent for the last few weeks. Like, I remember people when I was talking about Tyreek Hill up for MVP, people were like, AJ Brown is right there, he's doing the same thing. And I was like, one of these things is not like the other. Trust me. Trust me. This is not what you think it is, right?
Right.
Now, mind you, Devontae Smith stepped up to be the other half of that. And
he really did.
Yeah. Do for sure. But like, knowing that truthfully, the only thing that has made the Eagles as insanely potent as they have been, then they have a cheat code. That brotherly shove changes everything. Fourth down isn't really fourth down for you because they almost always get it to within a yard, and it's like, great, let's do it. Including even looking at Jalen Hurts' touchdowns on the year. Look at how many of them are rushing touchdowns. I believe it's 12. He's got like 12 or 13 yards for those 12 touchdowns. Like, literally, it's one of those things where as a fantasy quarterback, it's been great because you get 6 points instead of 4 for those rushing touchdowns. And so having Jalen Hurts in that regard has been awesome. But if you were to look at him just from like how he's like throwing the ball, it's not anything super crazy out there like the way you've been seeing Dak play, or the way you've seen Patrick Mahomes at his peak, or the way even Kirk Cousins was playing before he got hurt. Like, there's nothing that Jalen has been doing through the air, or even using his legs the way Lamar Jackson might, that you go, oh, you know what I'm saying? It's just the brotherly shove, which in that of itself is still extremely potent and useful.
Right.
But like, you know what I'm saying? It's a cheat code. And at a certain point, when you deal with somebody that's physical enough that you can't get to 4th and 1, now all of a sudden you have a problem. And you've seen that the Eagles have been pushed to there multiple times. The Bills were handing them their ass. The Chiefs were handing them their ass. The Dolphins were handing them their ass. Like, so were the Cowboys. It's just that they kept in those moments having the will to win, which is amazing and is important and is the type of stuff that helps you win championships. But if you keep going down on teams that are actually getting their shit together, you're going to put yourself in a position where you will not be able to recover. And that's what ended up happening, is once the 49ers started rolling on them, they never stopped. And that's the difference. You like, yes, say whatever you want about Brock Purdy, but because of how that whole team as a unit operates, it's not like the Bills, where the Bills seem to get in their own way like the Cowboys have for years and years and years prior to this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not the Chiefs where like they barely beat the Chiefs because they have a receiver problem. You know what I'm saying? Where Patrick Mahomes still kept them right there. So this is just that whole thing, is that if the Eagles do not figure out how to prevent from getting their ass whooped at the beginning, they need to be able to come out hard, they need to come out strong, and they need to be able to like continue that momentum. Otherwise, what seems like this magical, we were 10-1, we're 10-2. All of a sudden, the way the Cowboys are playing, you have a situation where you might lose this weekend. You know what I'm saying? Right. And then like you have a lot of cupcake games at the end here. But remember, you had a division rival who's not good in your Commanders. Sorry, but true.
You know what? You always bring it up. Like, there's no need to bring us in. We just mind our own business, man. It's
important. It's important because they play the Giants twice, and the Giants are not good, but that's a division rival. And if you were to talk about, and you might get embarrassed if you're not careful, like they might go from they were the lockup for the 1 seed to be like, nope, that shit gone. So like, if you don't want to talk about Jalen's turnovers, which he's gotten a little bit better about, but those are important. If you want to talk about how that defense is actually a massive liability for the Eagles, then you're going to be sorely disappointed when this is all said and done and they get bounced way earlier than they were expected to.
Well, I mean, I think this is the thing. When you look at the stats, they are outscored in the first half of their games this year, 144 to 156, right? That doesn't seem like too much of a discrepancy, 12 points, but then you're going to have to factor in what went on in this game and then what's going on here. And you're absolutely right. Not every team is going to, especially when we get to the playoffs, if you start getting down in the first half and it's exhausting to come back in the second half, it is not going to be able to be something you're going to do consistently throughout the NFC. I don't think in the playoffs that's going to work out for you with the Eagles. And I agree with you. And a lot of people have been saying the Eagles have been getting lucky. They've been barely scraping by. We were given a lot of respect, because sometimes winning those one-score games takes a certain extra mental edge to get you to that point. Well, that just got blown up in this game. Absolutely blown up in this game. They could not come back. And this didn't have to do with Jalen Hurts' concussion. He was only out for a few minutes. He wasn't out for the entire game. He tried to come back, or he came back and tried to lead them to a victory, but in the end couldn't get the job done. This comes down to a defense that was getting absolutely sliced open by simple stuff like that Deebo Samuel 46-yard touchdown. That was just a simple cross, and it was just boom. It was a screen cross that cleared the way, and he was untouched all the way to the end zone. Those are
I'm still listening. I'll be right back. That's the fire alarm.
Oh, okay. It's probably because you put that picture up with Hillary. You set everything on fire. But yeah, I mean, those are the things when you look at it and you're like, oh my God, what is going on here with this situation with the defense? How are you not prepared for these plays from the 49ers? But this also speaks volumes about the 49ers, doesn't it, y'all? Like Christian McCaffrey finished with 93 yards and had a touchdown with 38 seconds left here in the first half for a 14-6 lead. McCaffrey got his. Deebo Samuel got his. Brandon Ayuk was in the mix. So they've got so many offensive weapons. If Kittle could have caught more balls, he dropped a couple of them, the 49ers would have had even more. So that's the scary part of this. And Brock Purdy afterwards, I hope we're done with the Brock Purdy conversation now. Like, the guy had a terrible 3-game run. Then they went into a bye. A lot of shaky quarterbacks would have fallen apart mentally. Brock came back, and he's even fucking better than he was at the beginning of the season. Now you can tell he is picking apart defenses in ways we haven't seen him do yet. He's almost matrixing this motherfucking thing, and that's scary to see. And then afterwards, one of the most humblest guys afterwards in the post-game or the post-match post-game presser there on the field, just hands in pocket with Aaron Andrews saying, like, you know what? We just it's just one game, and we're here to do it, and we got to get the job done. And next week's another game. We got to get the job done one game at a time. This team is laser focused now to get to this Super Bowl. I don't think anybody in the NFC, except for maybe the Cowboys, are going to pose a real threat to these 49ers getting to that Super Bowl, for God's sake. So I love to see it. By the way, this is what you put up, and I appreciate you putting this up. But then I had a response from someone. Vashon was in here saying, yeah, this is what this is. He approves of Hillary Buff for sure. Vashon is a big fan of Hillary Buff. Let me just tell you.
Hey, you know what else I'm a fan of? This tweet right here, and I'm mad I didn't think of it first, bro, because this is exactly what it is. Go ahead, pull this up real quick. Is the Eagles 10-1 record?
Oh, it's fake. Got you. Who you say gave that to you?
Bro, you know Rush Hour 2, collectively one movie for me, my favorite movie of all time. That's fake. That's real talk. But I like, here's the thing. The Eagles are still the reigning NFC champions.
Sure.
They still have the squad that they have. I think part of what's going on, honestly, and this was something that I want to say it was James Jones that said it. He was like, they use a very elementary, like high school based offense. It's just a lot of slants and a lot of, you know what I'm saying? And like, it's one of those things where if you're dealing with teams that are bad on defense or they can be easily rattled, great. Because you do have beasts. You have Brown and Smith and Swift, who are all incredible. And then again, Hurts is a good quarterback. Right. And he is able to do that brotherly shove shit. So, like, they have incredible weapons on offense. Like, you can't deny that. Right. But if you're running that basic-ass scheme, a team like the Niners that plays physical football, and they're able to do it playing man, so they're shutting down your slants. You try and press them, and nigga, I'm right here. Mm-hmm. You keep a linebacker in the middle there to, like, just to help out where you need to. Like, bro, they have to evolve. They have to evolve because it will not work come playoff time. Yeah, it won't.
And the scary part of this, too, is you look at A.J. Brown, got 114 yards receiving. Devontae Smith, 96 yards receiving. So those two guys, they ate at the game. They were fine, but only one touchdown between them. And when you look at the rushing, Jalen Hurts leads all rushers with a whopping 20 yards. You're not. This is a game plan right here the 49ers laid out. You shut down that running game, you can win against these Eagles. You can play harder against these Eagles. You can set up the right offensive plays on your side of the ball to take care of business. You score. If you shut down that run game, you shut down these Eagles. And so you saw it happen very clearly in this game.
But you know why that happened more than anything, though, is that once you go up on somebody, it's harder to then get your run game involved because you have to play catch up and you can't burn time. So like they all of a sudden, because the Niners went up quickly and they put their foot on their neck because if I'm not mistaken, it was
only 14-6 at halftime, Winston. So I mean, then we get after halftime, and then it was 28-13 at the drop of a hat. It was crazy.
Well, and that was the other thing is once it started rolling, if I'm not mistaken, they had 6 touchdowns on 6 consecutive drives.
Yes,
the Niners did. So when that Eagles defense could not stop them, you are no longer allowed to have the running game come in there, barring a couple maybe screens or something to try and open something up, because you can't afford the time. Because every time the Niners got on the field, they put another touchdown on your ass. Like you did not have the time anymore. And like that's the other part of like the brotherly shove of it all. If you keep having to go to 4th down every time to then move on to the next one, you're running into that issue then of like, Jesus, I need to like give myself the opportunity to like spare some of that clock. But 15 play drives to score, that's not gonna cut it.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, what do you think about this ejection that happened during the game here with Greenlaw and with the head of security for the Eagles? Not sure if you saw it.
I've did.
Got the, let me see if I can bring up the video so we can all watch it together. Yeah, here we go. It's Schefter who's got the video here, and I want to bring a small one. Yeah, here's the angle. Where's it? There's a one that's not too long that I want to bring up. Well, fuck it. I guess I'll just bring that one up and limit the time and don't put any sound up. But yeah, let's take a look at this one here, because it's an interesting moment for sure when you look at what happened here between these guys. And this is the situation. He's pushing, Greenland's pushing off, but then the head of security comes in and gets a little boop on the nose, and then both of them get ejected. Greenlaw gets ejected, but right there, little boop, right there on the nose, right? Trying to tell him to get the hell out of his face, because you're right. What is the head of security doing getting involved between 2 players going at it? Look, Shanahan apologized, or Sirianni apologized to Shanahan, but at the end of the day, Winston, I mean, what is this all about? What do you think of this?
It's the funny thing is, while there were the fights that kind of happened, and there's a little bit with both the Niners and the Eagles where they both have kind of been like that. I don't really consider either of the teams like, like aggressive or dirty in any sort of way, but I associate that with Philly. This is the same city that then when they win World Series and Super Bowls, they burn their own city to the ground. Like literally, they have to grease poles in Philadelphia so people won't climb them and make a goddamn mess of themselves.
They eat horse shit. They eat horse shit.
You know what I'm saying? So like, I am not surprised that a guy named Dom, who's the head of security in Philly, is out here in these streets. What the fuck you think you're doing, bro? You know we'll fly, Eagles fly, bitch. You know we're gonna fucking wreck you. And then he's like, dude, will you get out of my face? I'm talking to him. Hey, well, who the fuck you think you touching, bro? I'm the fucking security. I'll throw you out. And the ref be like, both y'all gotta go. Get the fuck out of here.
I'll see you at the Wawa. I'll see you at the Wawa.
He needed to be in the stands making sure that Niners and Philly fans weren't fighting each other. Why the fuck are you involved with the players? You let the officials and the coaches handle that. And unless there's a fight that breaks out where somebody starts swinging chairs on other players, get the then you can be down there. You have no business being down there. You were probably hanging with Philly, because it's not like he came running down.
No, he's right there. He's right.
He was there. So it feels like he was just out there hanging with the players. He doesn't need to be involved in that. He doesn't.
It's exactly. I agree with you 100%. This is nonsense. This is a coaching situation. You're just the head of security, right? You're just the head of security. He's literally pushing them apart. Like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, it's just nonsense what he thinks he's doing. And I agree with you. It's the side of thing of this little entitlement situation. You're thinking that because he's the head of security of Philadelphia, he can step in. And again, I've said this on this show for years now, multiple times, this separation between the players and the fans, or even the players and someone like a head of security who is not actually, part of the coaching staff. This isn't a violation. And the lines are getting blurred more and more every year, every time one of these incidents happen, that people think, well, I've watched these players all the time on TV, therefore I know them and I can touch them and I can get in their faces. And that kind of nonsense is going to lead to a terrible situation. What if Greenlaw had lost his mind and just did a Ron Artest and started punching the shit out of this head of security guy?
Well, then lawsuits. Greenlaw would need to get sued, and then
exactly. And then you're losing a star player for the rest of the season, because the NFL would have to act and eject him and get him out and suspend him for games, all because this guy got involved. So these are these things that have to be avoided. An apology isn't enough. This guy shouldn't be on the sidelines for the rest of the season, if at all, ever again.
Apparently, someone, El Boogie is saying they think he was assigned to the head coach, because the coaches do have security in case people are running on the field, all that kind of stuff.
That's fine.
But again, that is for the safety of the coach. If it had been a situation like to that point with the player,
yeah.
If Greenlaw had run up on Sirianni, like if he really is assigned to protect him, and he's like motherfucker, and he's about, then that's different because you're literally assigned to protect this dude. But otherwise, scuffles happen all the time, and unless a full out brawl breaks out, he needs to stay out of it. This is not about him. Let the refs handle it. Let the coaching staffs handle it, etc. So yes, I know he's the head of the Eagles security, and that might have been that day. He very easily could have put himself on Sirianni detail. He could have been like, I'm gonna go hang with Sirianni, make sure he's all right, like whatever. Like he could have done that for himself, but that is not your job. Is not to deal with the players like that unless there's an actual brawl. Stay out of it.
And this is the second time it's happened, right? I mean, like we saw that last week, right, with the linemen getting in with the Philly fans, and of course, some audio came out that showed that they weren't actually threatening the linemen, the Bills players' family or anything. It was just they were getting into it from the beginning of the game to later on in the game. So, but clearly this antagonistic attitude is there. And let me add another log to the fire here. This is from them in the stands here going after the 49ers fans, these Eagles fans. Take a look at this now. Craziness, throwing snowballs at two 49ers fans who are just sitting there getting pelted by fans as they cover up. God knows what's in those snowballs. Could be rocks, could be bottles, could be caps, could be anything.
Yeah,
that's
because
the stuff they're having to endure.
Philly is fucking trash, bro. Yeah, I've said that. Like I don't want to be that guy. I want to actually be like, yo, no. They just really get into it.
Yeah, right, of course.
They're like the city of Philadelphia has yet to show me why it is a worthwhile place to be in any form or fashion. Yeah. Like there's a reason why It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's about 5 of the worst people on the planet. Like every single one of the main characters of Always Sunny are horrible people. They are horrible fucking people, which makes it funny. It's kind of the same. It's kind of the same way that like Real Housewives shit. I don't watch that, but what I ask people, like, why do you watch? They go, because these are terrible people, and that's what makes it like entertaining. And that's how I've always felt about Philly. Like, no matter how much beef we have, bro, right? With the Commanders and the Cowboys, there's like we might like jib jab, but like ain't nobody really gonna like pull bottles and knives and throw rocks with snowballs on them. I may not like the Giants fans, and honestly, they're more aggressive as Knicks fans than they are as Giants fans. But again, I'm not worried about no shit like that. This Philly to me. They the Raiders, bro. Like and I love me some Raiders. Sure. But like the idea of every time you see like if there's a major fight that broke out in the NFL with the fan, then it's like, let's go Raiders. And it's like Raiders. So, what the fuck you say, Holmes? And then all of a sudden, all shit breaks loose. Like, that's the thing. We like, don't get me wrong. We had a fight at the Chargers game that apparently happened near the section I was at. I had no idea. I already left. Yeah. But apparently that fight is wild. But all that being said, bro, that's not something that's happening on the regular. That's not necessarily what our fans are known for. Why is it every time Philly is involved in something, a fan, a head of security, somebody is doing something fucking disrespectful? It's fuck.
Yeah, it's standard for the Eagles fans, and you keep seeing examples of it all the time. And I think that's another part of this that can't be ignored. There's just examples of it all the time that they're getting into these situations and getting called out for the stuff that they're doing. And that is the problem when you look at it. And what's the NFL going to do about it? Because after a while, you just kind of go, well, if you don't step up and sanction them in some way, they're just going to keep doing it. You know, in overseas, you know, we both follow Premier League football. Overseas, they have those situations where if you get out of line or you yell racist taunts, you are out for the rest of the season. Like you can't come to games, you can't do anything. So seeing all those guys, and I get it. Look, it's really difficult. I mean, we're still arresting people from the fucking attack on the Capitol, but like you can take shots, the crowd shots. It's tough to kind of pinpoint the faces and get them kicked out, but there has to be something. You know, there has to be something that comes in and stops all this from happening, because the NFL, what if those two people had like little children with them or anything like that, or they're older, grandmoms with him, and they were getting pelted. Like that would be a horrible thing to see happen in that arena, in that stadium, so to speak.
Yeah, man. It's just this idea that like it's wild to me to think that like I always used to say I can't stand Boston sports fans, and I can't for different reasons.
Right.
It tends to be that like Boston's issues tend to come out of both being obnoxious, but like racism.
There's
most of the
entitlement and racism. Yeah, exactly.
like to know that like even some Celtics players being like, I mean, it's cool when we're winning, but to be called a monkey when we're losing, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's infuriating.
Yeah,
and it's its own level of like bullshit.
Yeah.
But like I have always wanted to be able to go to Cowboys games against division rivals in various cities. Like this is one of those things where I'm like, well, then I'll never go to Lincoln Financial. Like, fuck that.
Yeah,
like,
no way.
why?
No way.
Unless I'm balling out and I got a box, fuck that. I just won't go because this is pathetic.
Yeah.
Like, it's not to say that people can't do this anywhere around the country, but this consistently keeps happening in Philly. So, like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree with you 100%. I don't know where the end result of all of this is going to lead us to, because it can't keep happening and it's tough. But either way, the 49ers took care of business here, and we'll see how this affects Philadelphia going into the game against the Cowboys. Certainly with the concussion issues with Hurts, is that going to linger? Is that going to be something they check again? We shall see. And certainly we'll get to the Cowboys game in just a little bit. Before we hit the break, let's do this one game here. The Packers, the Green Bay Packers, upset the Kansas City Chiefs. This is the Sean Brennan portion of the show here. Jordan Love threw 3 touchdowns. Jordan Love here to beat the Chiefs 27-19. This is the 3rd straight win for the Packers, and they are now at 6-6. For God's sakes, in contention for the Super Bowl. And even today, I saw a video from a very famous sports site questioning how many Super Bowls Jordan Love is going to win as the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. What is happening? 3 weeks ago, they were ready to run Jordan Love out of town. Now, with this victory kind of cementing maybe a bit of a turnaround for these Packers, they took care of business here. Christian Watson had 2 touchdowns in this game. I dropped Christian Watson from my fantasy team 2 weeks ago because he wasn't doing anything, and the Packers took care of business. Mahomes was stopped on a couple of occasions, had a chance to win the game here at the end, but couldn't get it done. And he threw for 210 yards. That's it. 21 of 33 with a touchdown and an interception. Taylor Swift was watching, and even she wasn't enough to help the Chiefs win the game here. Isaiah Pacheco rushed for 110 yards and a touchdown before getting ejected for getting into a scuffle himself. So Pacheco's still acquitting himself well as a running back for these Chiefs, but the Chiefs fell the fuck apart against these Packers, Winston. I got to know your thoughts here. Are we taking the Packers seriously, or this is more about the Chiefs getting exposed for the papier-mâché champions they seem to be?
I mean, that's the thing. I'm wondering, Sean seems quiet so far, but the truth is everything that we've been saying. It's not that the Packers are like all of a sudden good. They're finding their rhythm.
They're finding their rhythm.
And no, I don't. If they're gonna win any Super Bowls, it's gonna be the same as Brett Favre and the same as Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
One, and it's not gonna be because Jordan Love is some truth. I could be wrong. He could grow over the years and get better. And like there is definitely some poise to him that I gotta give some credit for. But there's not like the one thing I will say about a lot of people that you see winning Super Bowls, there is something there already that you go, oh yeah, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
I don't get that vibe from him. It could change, but like think about all of the quarterbacks that have won the Super Bowl recently.
Yeah.
So Tom Brady, like even early on, because it wasn't like the first year that he stepped in for Bledsoe, didn't they end up going on to win the Super Bowl that year?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
So you have that. Peyton Manning, the way he just like, yes, he had a bad rookie season, but the intangibles and the way he would play, sometimes you're like, that's a matter of time. When Drew Brees got to New Orleans and started ball, that was a matter of time. Like there's just like things where you could just tell. Even Roethlisberger, like fuck him, but like the way he played, like there's little things. Mahomes, there is nothing that I've seen Jordan Love do that I go, yep. And the only reason why I feel that way about Purdy is both A, that record he went on in the beginning, B, that he's kind of had this place, and C, he's in such the right place.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Hurts feels like a matter of time. Hurts me to say that, But you know what I'm saying? Like, and even at this point, if the Cowboys can finally get their shit together, the way that Dak started off and even how he's playing now, there's the talent there that would make sense. I don't get that from Jordan Love. What I get out of this game is the same thing we've said about the Chiefs since week one. You have a massive wide receiver problem. And if you are able to triple cover, Kelsey, and then know that these receivers are going to drop shit anyway, then what you going to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you going to do if you cannot go to Kelsey? And it's sad. I don't know if you heard this interview that Tyreek Hill did recently. He goes, yeah, I left. It wasn't just the money. He's like, I felt like Patrick's side chick because like, he would invite Kelsey to lunch and shit. And I'm just like, nigga, am I not here? Am I invisible? Did something happen? Was I hanging out with the motherfucking Houdini and they left me invisible or some shit? Did I develop superpowers? What the fuck's going on? Like, to think that you could literally have Kelsey and Hill still on this team, I don't think the Chiefs would have lost. They wouldn't have lost because I think he left, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, he left before the Brady Chiefs Super Bowl, yeah?
Yes.
You could have had him for that. You would not have lost that game. Let's be real. You probably would have would not have lost to the Bengals, and they would have made it back into this damn Super Bowl that year. You won last year, but now everybody's kind of like, nigga, how? Like what? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's true.
And it sucks that Valdez-Scantling, bro.
I mean,
you're 7 years in the league, and we talked about this already in the money he made, and you tried to be like, nah, man, no. I'm like, no. This is year 7. You had 5 targets and only 2 catches on him.
Yeah.
I'm not here for this. I'm not here. Like, and good for Rice. If Rice is a rookie, isn't he?
Yeah, Rashee Rice is a rookie. Yeah.
He needs time, and he's allowed to have time.
He's absolutely becoming the Tyreek Hill of the situation because he's always going to go to Kelsey, Mahomes is, but Rashee Rice is the second highest, or actually he's the top targeted receiver in the core. Kelsey is getting more yards, but he is the top targeted receiver. In terms of targets, Rashee Rice has now come to number one for Mahomes. So that's a good thing for Rashee as he's going forward, but he's not a strong number one. And so that's a concern. I agree with you with Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who must be looking at what's going on with the Packers going, man, why did I leave? But you look at this situation, you're 100% right. Kelsey can't keep leading the receiving situation. You need to have someone else like a Tyreek Hill or other receivers who's going to be able to pick up the slack. And clearly they couldn't get the job done. And Mahomes had 5 minutes, multiple drives during those last 5 minutes where he tried to win the game and couldn't win the game. And in the end lost it. And so that tells you that there's not a lot of reliable wide receivers on that offense. And eventually it's going to start. I'm telling you right now, they're going to start imploding. They're going to start imploding.
What do you mean they're going to start? They already have.
Well, fair point. Like the back half of the season is going to be real interesting to see what happens with these Chiefs. Because now that there's this much game tape on this current version of the Chiefs offense, you're seeing defenses keying in on certain things, figuring out how to short circuit Mahomes. Because he can be a great quarterback all you want, but he's not necessarily, as I've said before, the quarterback that's going to elevate someone like a Chris Hogan to have 100 yards per game or whatever, like Brady did. He's not necessarily built that way. So
Mahomes?
This is a concern. Yeah.
No, it's not that. It's truthfully what I will be 100% honest with you. What a lot of that has to do with, we're getting to that point now where the Patriot way, like there's a lot of talk about like the Patriot way needs to go and die somewhere and retire. But like there was a different mentality. Now there's something here where obviously you want to go play for Coach Reed and you want to ball out for Coach Reed and all that kind of stuff. But like, you know what's funny? I think about how like last year the Chiefs would do like little cutesy things. They do their huddle, that they do ring around the Rosie and go run a touchdown on you and stuff like that. They're in a position right now, like when the Patriots weren't doing well, they would yell at each other and they would get their act together and whatever. Where in this case, since everything is, it's funny. It's not to say that you can't have fun in games, but you never saw the Patriots do anything like that. And there's a part of that is kind of fucking miserable. And there's a part of that also makes a little bit of sense because now all of a sudden you don't know what to do in a serious situation where things aren't going the way you are. And on top of that, if you need proof that this was going to be a problem, the fact that all you could get in the first half were 2 field goals, while the Packers were able to get 2 touchdowns. Yeah. And then you could start to get your groove back, but like they were able to go, get a touchdown, they got a touchdown. Yeah. You got another touchdown, but then you couldn't do shit after that, and they were able to keep getting points around the field. You're not gonna. That's not gonna work. So again, the last thing is, and it's a great point by Jeremy Miller, man. Bieniemy. It is very clear how much
massive
you losing Tyreek and losing Bieniemy were 2 massive blows that over time, losing little pieces here and there are okay, but then losing multiples, it's going to add up. And Taylor notwithstanding, if you know that Travis is also in his head being like, I might be almost done here.
Yeah.
He's not playing like his heart isn't in it.
Right.
But it also means that like the hunger isn't there quite as much.
Yeah, dude, you're with a global superstar. That is going to take your time. That is going to affect your mind. If you're not just focused on football, it is going. You know what? Tom Brady broke up with or got divorced from Gisele Bündchen
so he could lose in the first round of the playoffs to the Cowboys.
No, because he would walk
7-9 team that shouldn't have been in the fucking playoffs in the first place.
Because he wouldn't walk away from the game. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the difference. She put up with so much shit from him because he is so focused on the game. That's why he's the GOAT and will always be the GOAT because of his approach to the game. Kelsey has always had 1 foot half out the door, from the reality show Dating Kelsey when he was a rookie for the Kansas City Chiefs to where he's at now. You've seen the progression, all the commercials, the podcasts, Campbell's, the Allstate commercial, whatever he's doing with Pat, the State Farm commercials. Mm-hmm. And then now you've got new stuff popping up, and now he's looping in his brother, looping in his brother's wife, looping in Mahomes' wife. There's all this stuff, and then Taylor comes along. It's going to distract you. You're not going to be as focused. So I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't retire in the next 2 years. I give
a little pushback on that only because how many times was Gronk doing that, and Gronk was still balling out? So you can go and live your Hollywood life and still do your thing. Like how many commercials? How many commercials has Steph Curry been in over the years for Subway?
And also titles first before he was doing commercials.
And so did Kelsey. Kelsey didn't start doing commercials and shit until now. I know you said the reality dating show, but that's in the off season. That's fine. Who cares? Man. Like I got more upset, honestly, because Kelsey's 10 years in now, and he's got 2 rings. Yeah, he can do this. I got more upset when Baker Mayfield had 1 good season for the fucking Browns, and then he's like, at home with Baker Mayfield, and it's like him and the Cleveland. I was like, nigga, you need to sit down. You need to sit the fuck down. You ain't the shit, bro. You ain't the shit. Like I would get mad at Dak when he won Rookie of the Year, and all of a sudden he's doing a sleep number. I was like, nigga, are you asleep? What the fuck are you doing? You better focus. But Kelsey's literally done everything you would potentially want to do in this league.
There was, first of all, there wasn't a Jessica Simpson era. There was a Jessica Simpson moment. It was not a fucking era.
It was an era. It felt like an era. It wasn't 3 games, bro. It was like over half a season. It was like 3/4 of a fucking season. It felt like an entire era. It was awful. And it's funny because like I truthfully, the difference is Tony didn't get married to Jessica. It clearly did not work out. I hope that this works out for Travis. Travis and Taylor seem super, super happy. Sure, and if he's ready to be out, be out. But you know what's funny? If Travis Kelce retires, if he's done, it's not to say that Patrick Mahomes still won't be the man. Bro, the Chiefs are about to be completely irrelevant. I think they will be a team that will be like a lower wild card team going forward until they find some other superstar to step in to help out Patrick Mahomes because this ain't it, bro.
Yes, I want to find. I was reading something this morning. Yeah, here it is.
Jessica Simpson was on her Eras tour or before Taylor was.
Jessica Simpson had 1 song. Please.
And then she was in Starsky and Hutch. She was hot as hell in Starsky and Hutch, bro.
Oh, you're thinking Dukes of Hazzard, bro. Dukes of Hazzard.
That's what I meant. Dukes of Hazzard. Dukes of Hazzard. They are, and that's what's sad.
You get one White Buddy series combined with the other one. No, but this is fascinating. I was watching this, and he's like, this guy. He's like,
I've seen John Elway, bro. Mahomes couldn't hold John Elway's fucking left nut.
Listen to this.
In the cold winter. I'm not hating on Mahomes. I'm telling you the truth about Mahomes. Without Andy Reid, Mahomes is nothing. Put him in Chicago. How good is Mahomes?
You're talking about a really talented guy who maybe hasn't taken the leap to make it into a playoff.
I don't think he'd be good at all. You know that 50% of his throws are at or behind the line of scrimmage? He is the lowest rated Super Bowl winning quarterback of all time. He is in a gimmicky system that is devised to help him succeed. That means they take a tremendous skill set. I'm not knocking Mahomes. I'm not saying he's not a freak, that he doesn't have a whip and a cannon, but all the off-platform, three-quarter throws and the left and the shovel, all that shit is because Andy Reid has to do certain things in the system to use his skill set to allow his team to succeed, which even shows more of why Andy Reid is so great. Mahomes,
I have a massive problem with that.
This is the coach of Last Chance University, by the way, for those of you who watch that series. Go ahead. Sorry, Winston.
I have a massive problem with that because you can make that same argument, and you can make that same argument about Jordan, about Kobe, about Brady, and like what's funny is I know Brady won his ring down in Tampa Bay, but if you noticed, he went to a team that was fully loaded. And they unloaded on motherfuckers, and then they could not even sniff it again. And on top of that, if Brady does not develop under Belichick, you don't get Brady. If like he still would have been a good quarterback, I believe right. That. But like, let's be real. If Jordan doesn't get Phil Jackson in there, that's not happening. If you don't get Steve Kerr going to chill with Steph Curry and them boys. That's not happening. If you don't have Phil Jackson, then go help Kobe. That's not happening. Like, you know what I'm saying? So to say, well, he needed it. Yes, they needed each other. Andy Reid wasn't able to get over the fucking hump until he got Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
So like,
it wasn't winning with Cassell.
It's nonsense to say that because you have to understand that in the same way that if even winning an Oscar, yes, you have to have certain level of talent to be there, but you have to be in the right movie with the right team that's out here doing publicity for you in the right year, because you could have the performance of your life. But if that's the year that Daniel Day-Lewis decides to fucking do, Lincoln or There Will Be Blood, God help you. Like it's that notion to me is so disrespectful because Patrick Mahomes has shown in other ways how to make shit happen. You know what I'm saying? And like taking broken plays and making shit happen. So yes, you might be able to point to certain numbers and shit like that, but let's the point of a coach is to guide and mentor. That is that even the plays that are going out there, because you could just go play backyard football and do your own thing. It's to guide and mentor. So then yes, he has a good coach that's helping him get to where he needs to fucking go.
But that's irrelevant of the metrics. You're absolutely right in terms of a coach is supposed to coach up a player and adjust their system. The great coaches adjust their system so that they take advantage of the natural skills of the quarterback they have underneath them, right? That's what a great coach does. And certainly Andy Reid figured that out with Mahomes. And Andy Reid, Donovan McNabb was never good outside of Andy Reid. Alex Smith was able to win games, but was never as good as he was under Andy Reid. Andy Reid is absolutely a great coach for quarterbacks, no doubt. And what I think what that coach is pointing out from Last Chance University, he's absolutely right. Mahomes, I went and looked at the stats. Mahomes, 50% average of his throws are behind the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage. That's insane. That is such a number that is lower than most of the downfield quarterbacks. And I think that's what he's saying, is that Mahomes is not the standard barometer we use for downfield quarterbacks, for people who know how to play this position correctly. It doesn't mean that he can't throw downfield. It's that a majority of the plays that are called are not necessarily meant for him to go downfield. With Brady, you'd never say that. You would never, or even Aaron Rodgers, you'd never say that. Those are downfield quarterbacks. And I think
it's interesting. I get it.
The lowest QBR of any Super Bowl winning quarterback, that's Brad Dilfer and Brad Johnson have hired. That's shocking. So go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Understandably so, but also from the standpoint of like, what's interesting is all of the Super Bowl wins of Patrick Mahomes, are very similar to what the Eagles have done this in the entirety of this year.
Fair point.
Mixing it up, this is actually going a little bit harder than we thought, and then him turning on the Mahomes magic at the time when it's time to win. You know what I'm saying? How many Super Bowls of Brady's have also been that? Brady has been garbage. And then it's like, Oh, it's time to win a ring? Let's go get a ring. You know what I'm saying? Like, and literally, like, go look at 28-3. The Patriots were getting dog walked. And then Brady goes, nah, fuck this. This ain't how this is ending. And all of a sudden, now he wants to be the perfect QBR rating to end the game. So, like, it's just wild to me because who is this coach? You said he's a coach for Last Chance U?
Yeah, Last Chance University, which is a series on, I think, Hulu or Prime.
It's on Netflix.
Netflix, that's it. Sorry, yeah, okay.
I got a question. Did my nigga win a Super Bowl?
No, wait. Neither did we. So then we shouldn't have it.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I would take more stock in that.
Okay. If
a Brady said that, if Coughlin, Tom Coughlin, who used to coach, like just anybody that is genuinely, like, it doesn't mean that if you don't have football experience, it doesn't mean that if journalists haven't watched the game forever, that you can't make commentary on it, et cetera, but it would mean a lot more to me if all of a sudden somebody that like really, really understands that as far as they've been in that moment as a coach or as a player or something like that. Like if I heard Jimmy Johnson, if I heard even Trent Dilfer be like, here's some things like, look, man, but like that's just, it's weird to see someone throw those stones when you ain't even been in that situation, on top of the fact that, as we've said a million times, who are the receivers in Kansas City? You had Kelsey, or you have Kelsey, and you had Hill. Yeah. Who else on that team has been worth their snuff as a receiver, period? Name one. Give me one. Because they went and tried to give Sammy Watkins another shot. That didn't work the fuck out. That shit didn't work out. Yeah. They went and they got Juju. Juju had a couple cool plays, but when did he ever? Nope, that didn't work the fuck out. You haven't had anybody else to help you be a downfield threat. It's typically Kelsey or Hill. And it's like, if Kelsey triple covered, I'm not going to try and seam that shit with three of the best, a safety and two corners on his ass. That's insane.
That's a fair point. Yeah, Tyreek has been their top stats-wise. Tyreek has been in the top 10. 4 of his seasons have been in the top 10 of receiving for the Chiefs. So they haven't, you're right, they haven't had that many great receivers under Mahomes for sure. They are mostly just kind of decent to good receivers, but not outstanding or receivers. Like with Brady, right? It wasn't until, Terrell the 1 year where they almost went undefeated. It was was it Randy? Was it Terrell or Randy? Randy, right? Randy. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff, but didn't get the job done. So yeah,
like dude, to know, and this is what's wild to me. Like as far as for best seasons overall, Patrick Mahomes is number 16 and 9 for best seasons overall for QBR. Like this dude that's going on about this shit, like put some respect on this dude's name. Like, let's be fucking real. Here's the order, just to give you the top. I'll give you the top 20. Brady in 2007. Yeah. Manning in 2006. Aaron Rodgers in 2011. Lamar Jackson in 2019. Drew Brees in 2011. Drew Brees in 2009. Sure. David Garrard in 2000.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
I know.
Love that guy.
Peyton Manning number 8 in 2009. Then Patrick Mahomes in 2018. At number 9, Peyton Manning was at 8. Aaron Rodgers in 2020. Right. Matt Ryan in 2016. Tom Brady in 2016. Drew Brees in 2018. Tony Romo in 2014, bitch. Tom Brady in 2010. Patrick Mahomes in 2020. Peyton Manning in 2013. Peyton Manning in 2012. Wow, man. Carson Wentz in 2017. And then to round out number 20, Patrick Mahomes in 2020. He's on that list 3 times. And he's had 6 fucking seasons. Like, put some respect on his name. I understand what you're saying. And those are interesting numbers. But, like, people love to, like anything else, soundbite shit. Yeah. That's a stat soundbite. Instead of looking at the overall shit, you were focusing on one little thing to prove your fucking point. And that's weird.
Calm down, man. Calm down.
Deshaun thought that shit was hilarious. Also, gotta love that my boy Dak Prescott from 2016 is number 23 on that hoe. He about to throw this here and there too, throw a little pepper in this hoe. I'm so ready for it.
Yeah, we shall see. We shall see. We'll talk about Dak Prescott on the other side of this break as we got to 50 minutes. I thought that game was going to be a 10-minute conversation. It went long for much longer. We'll be right back right after this. All right, let's get into one more game before we get to the Cowboys game, and that's the Texans-Broncos game. This was an interesting matchup here, Winston, because two teams who were turning their seasons around, heading towards the AFC playoffs. The Broncos were on a 5-game winning streak coming into this matchup here with the Texans, but the Texans got the job done. Nico Collins had a career-high 191 yards receiving after a fellow wideout, Tank Dell, left early with a season-ending broken leg. Tank Dell is out for the season. He broke his fibula, and that's not something you come back from like Aaron Rodgers.
That's
in like
what I broke.
Yeah, see, so getting back on the field and running, that is not going to be part of this. They were saved by Jimmy Ward intercepting Russell Wilson in the last few seconds here. They were down by 5, the Broncos were. Russell heaving that ball, didn't quite get it over the cornerback's hands there and was intercepted. But this was a hell of a great back and forth game. After the Texans went up 16-6, the Broncos kept storming back and it got it all the way to 22-17 before they eventually succumbed. I like this game. I can't wait to see these teams if they meet each other in the playoffs again, but very happy to see Russell reborn again. Even though he threw season-high 3 interceptions in this game, he still kept them in the game here. But C.J. Stroud, 274 yards throwing here. And look, considering he'd been on a run of 4 games of 300 yards passing against a very tough now Broncos defense, to get 274 deserves a lot of credit here in the end. Cortland Sutton got himself a touchdown for the Broncos as well. So if you have him on fantasy like I do, it was a real essential thing to see. So what are your thoughts here coming out of this game here, Winston, between these teams? I'm sorry, 16-3 is what they were down before the Broncos came storming back. So what are your thoughts coming out of this game about these two teams?
You know, what's interesting is that the flip side of it is seeing the Texans hold this and then seeing what just went down last night, that the Texans, I think, might actually win their division.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if Trevor, if it really is just a sprain, then the Jaguars might be able to hold on. But I'm really concerned based off of how he was stepped on, and how he wasn't able to put weight on it, that it's a little more serious. And we'll find out today. I don't know if they've already announced it. I have a feeling that the Jaguars are about to just unravel without Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, and I think the Texans might be able to take their division.
Well, let me chime in on this because it just came over the wire on ESPN in the last 10 minutes here. Trevor Lawrence suffered a right high ankle sprain against the Bengals, but no further damage was found. And Pedersen said the Jaguars would evaluate Lawrence later in the week, and he would not rule out the possibility of Lawrence maybe playing on Sunday. So maybe they've escaped serious injury here, but we will see, man.
I know it's win, baby, win, and all that shit. You have a young quarterback who's doing well for you. Yeah, we saw what happened when we pushed. I mean, now, mind you, A, Rodgers was older, and B, Burrow didn't end up with an Achilles injury. He ended up with an elbow injury at the end of the day. But you do not want to push this. If I'm the Jaguars, let's see, what's the remainder of their schedule real quick.
They've got a couple of winnable games next. I think the Browns and maybe the Ravens are coming next.
So they play the Browns this weekend, the Ravens the following, then the Bucks, Panthers, Titans. If I'm the Jags, it is a dangerous game to play, but I think you sit him at least the Browns game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if not, the Ravens game as well, and let him clean up the last 3, which should be cakewalks for this team if he is pretty healthy. Yeah. I am, especially because it feels like even if they don't win the division, they could still make the playoffs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
I think it is a dangerous game to play, to try and force him back in, and then you might lose him on a more permanent basis. Not forever, but you know what I'm saying? Where he might not be of use at all the rest of the season. You just really got to be careful with that, man, because that was the other part of it that had me scared. The way his ankle got stepped on is the same way that I ended up breaking my fibula, was because it was my leg hit one area and then my body weight came down on my leg and snapped it.
Yeah.
So when you saw the lineman step on it and it did like this, I was like, oh God. And especially how he then fell and he was slamming his helmet and all that dude.
Yeah.
So like, I would just be very careful and save him for those last 3 games. Give him a 2-week break. I think if you give him the 2-week break, he can come back in and he can win those last 3 games for you. I know it's a risk.
Yeah.
I know I'm not a coach and a training staff, but I would just be very, very concerned.
Yeah. And to me, I know we're jumping over the game, but to me, with the Trevor Lawrence injury, I was really surprised to see them walking him back to the locker room without a cart. And I just don't understand why you would take your franchise quarterback and have him walk on that injured ankle. I mean, because you could have. To me, this is what you should have done. Just brought the cart out. I mean, I don't understand what the problem is. Just bring the cart out. Oh, Jesus. Oh no. Maybe that's why
you didn't need any more injuries. You didn't need any more injuries, bro. All I know is that I think probably it was a mental thing. I think
wanted to. You think he didn't want the card? And he's like, I'm going to show you I'm all right, or whatever.
He was already feeling some type of way, and it felt like he was trying to grit it out. Yeah. I think you're trying to send a signal to the rest of the team. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. If it was really something where he could, because he couldn't put weight on it, they had to help him. But if he was like, no, we're not even doing this. Get the cart. Yeah, I think they would have. But that sends a very specific signal to your team.
Yeah. You see here, they're just leading him back. They're using a security guard and a member of the training staff there walking, still on the cleats too. Winston.
Well, it's part of that though is to try and keep the pressure, to keep the swelling down. But I'll tell you, the difference is when I had to be helped, I wasn't doing that. I had to hop. I essentially was using people as crutches.
Yeah.
Whereas he at least could do that, which is a good sign, obviously. But true. I just think give him some break. But coming back to the game that we're actually supposed to be talking about, I just think that like it is a good sign, I think, for Houston that they're able to hold on in those moments. I think it goes to show that they do need to like really kind of try and shore things up one way or the other. But I think it also just goes to show that we know that the Broncos are a force to be reckoned with. I might have to walk back myself. I think I said they had to make the playoffs. If they made the playoffs, I said that they would be in the AFC Championship game. But at this point, you need to win as many of these as you can.
Right.
So that's not a great sign for that prediction. So,
well, we'll see. I mean, at this point, the Broncos are, where are they at here? They're at 9th position. The Colts hold right now. The resurgent Colts are all of a sudden in the last playoff spot at 7th, and below them are the Texans and the Broncos. Above the Colts are the Browns and the Steelers and the Jags. So yeah, I think it's all going to depend on what happens with Trevor Lawrence's ankle here week to week, if he's going to be able to come back. But the Texans getting this victory against the Broncos, if either team is going to make it, it certainly feels like the Texans, between the Texans and the Broncos, it certainly feels like the Texans getting this victory gives them a little bit of a leg up here in the tiebreak, and also to get into position here as maybe the Browns are going to falter, or the Jags, or even the Steelers could falter after they just got upset by the Cardinals. Anything could happen at this point as we go into the last few games of the season. We got like 6 games left in the season. I think from 4 to 9, 4 to maybe even 10 and 11, because the Bills are still somehow in this, even though they're ranked 11th. This is all going to change positioning over the next 6 weeks. It's going to be crazy in the AFC to see what happens with those rankings there and who ends up going and getting the final 3 spots in the playoffs. It's going to be crazy. Well, let's move on to your Dallas Cowboys here. Dak Prescott threw 3 touchdowns. This was a great game on Thursday night last week. Dak Prescott threw 3 touchdown passes, and the Cowboys won their 14th consecutive home game, beating the Seahawks barely 41-35 here. Geno Smith matched Dak Prescott in terms of touchdown passes, throwing 3 of them to DK Metcalf. Hey, here's a hint for your defense. Cover DK Metcalf, Winston. And this was an incredible game here, back and forth.
Pretty sure we did.
CeeDee Lamb had 12 catches for 116 yards and a 24-yard run. jet sweep that set up Aubrey's final field goal. And Brandon Aubrey, your rookie kicker, has been kicking ass this year. So that's another positive situation for you all. But at the end of the day here, the Cowboys got the job done in a very stress-inducing, I would imagine, incredible back-and-forth game where their defense stepped up to stop Geno, who had multiple chances to come back and win this game here at the end. So what do you take away from this? Is this just a Thursday night game and y'all weren't 100% prepared for these Seahawks who were struggling offensively coming into the game? Or was this just, this team had your number, figured things out?
So let's see here. You want to talk about covering DK Metcalf, right?
Yeah.
So once we got into the second half, here is how we handled. This is the Eagles' possession. So it was touchdown, interception.
Seahawks possession, you mean?
Seahawks possession. Yeah. So they scored a touchdown.
Yes.
Interception where Bland was like, enough of this, and said, "Bitch, give me that ball."
Yeah, that's his.
Then they had it. They had another. Then they had another touchdown. I'll give that. Then turnover on downs, turnover on downs, turnover on downs. Literally, once they were like, "It's game time," we were like, "Who?" You know what I'm saying? And that's the big thing, is that you have to look at one of the things that people have always said about the Cowboys when they're in this position where it's like the game's on the line, because there's a lot of games that we have that will stay in there. Yeah. And now it's down to, okay, you need to end this, and they don't. They fall short. This was great proof, and this is why I think that currently, especially after Hurts's performance against the Niners, I think that the actual front runner for MVP is Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
But because they're not going to give it to a receiver, even if he does break 2,000 yards, then Dak Prescott is the front runner for MVP in my mind because of how he's playing. And I know people will be like, well, he played a bunch of boo-boo teams. He's still blowing you. Like when you
this is the first time they beat a team with a winning record all season,
which is fine. But you got to understand, he kept up that level of play.
He did.
He kept up that level of play. He's done it for a number of games in a row. This isn't just like he did it for like one or two. This is like game 4 or 5 in a row of like 300 yards and multiple touchdowns.
Yep.
And he is leading this team in a way that looks completely different than how it was before. Remember when everybody was all like, man, Diggs out here being like, get out of my way, bitch, or whatever he said to him and all that kind of stuff. And everybody's like, man, Dak ain't no leader. Who's saying that right now?
Yeah,
the fact that even Micah Parsons was in an interview and he was like, yo, and then I saw Dak like throw that touchdown and he goes, let's fucking go. We lit, bitch. And Micah Parsons was like, I kind of blushed. I was like, that's my quarterback. Oh my God. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that is the thing. Dak has stepped up to become that leader. And so,
and I also think CeeDee Lamb is matching him as a number one as well. Like, because Dak has stepped up, CD has picked up his game the last few weeks, I would say as well.
And it's funny. I see Haskell being Purdy's on fire. No, yes, Purdy is playing a fine enough game.
They won't give him.
It's the difference here is I know CeeDee Lamb is balling, but I'm actually watching Dak Prescott use his legs to move things around, be given the freedom to kind of do stuff on his own and like making shit happen. Whereas Purdy literally has Debo, Ayuk, McCaffrey, and Kittle, all superstars, all pros, like pro bowlers in their own right, where you would make the argument the only pro bowler, I believe, at this particular moment out of an all pro out of the Cowboys is CeeDee Lamb. The rest of them, he's and you could say Turpin, but that's as a special teams return man, not as a receiver. And Dak is out here doing the damn thing the way that goes. And while I like our defense, I'll be honest, the Niners defense is better. So as you can kind of see here, we gave up 35 points to the Seahawks. So this isn't as generational as we thought it was going to be at the start of the season. So Purdy also has a defense protecting him from being in a situation where he has to figure it out. Dak is winning these games. Like he won this game almost losing it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the big thing. Purdy specifically has significantly more weapons. I honestly think that CD is better than both Ayuk and Debo at this point. But it would be like a CD is 1A, Debo is 1B, and like both Ayuk and Debo are 1B. Like they share the title because they're both insanely terrifying. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit is fucking crazy. So I look, and it's funny. Someone going, "Ooh, you think your QB is the MVP?" So then tell me what quarterback is playing better than Dak right now? Honestly,
yeah, but it's not like you're coming out of left field. Like a lot of analysts are now starting to kind of embrace Dak Prescott being the front runner for MVP. And Tyreek Hill is fine and all, but like the Dolphins have a lot of questions. And so you look at the situation, you wonder how much of that's going to give it.
No, but
Dak has been leading, and Dak, I think, if he maintains this pace, will absolutely be in consideration.
But it's you know what I'm saying though. It's not even the reason why I still give it to Tyreek Hill over this, because look at Tua. Like everybody was like, well, if Tyreek Hill has 2,000 yards, and that means that Tua's got to have at least 5,000 because like he's probably thrown it in other places as well. But to know that Tua is really not that guy compared to what Tyreek Hill is doing, and that's why it's also funny that someone wants to come at me for saying, "Oh, you think that Dak is the MVP?" Of course, Cowboys fan think that. I just admitted that I actually thought a receiver deserves it that does not play for my fucking team. I just think that I know how this league goes. Yeah. And unless he does something insane, and not 2,000, if he gets like 2,500 or some shit like that, right. Or like he ties the receiving touchdown record when it's all said and done or something like that, they don't give it to a non-quarterback. Yeah. And so my question is, what quarterback is playing better than Dak Prescott right now? And if you can name me somebody who is not only playing better than him, but consistently has been doing this right now, then I will have that conversation with you. But I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing somebody else like Jalen Hurts, again, brotherly shove. Patrick Mahomes, he's starting to lose games. That's not good. Brock Purdy, sure. But when you literally look at how the rest of his offensive weapons are doing, period, and these are with like, giving Debo a jet sweep and watching him run an 80-yard touchdown, like letting Christian McCaffrey be Christian McCaffrey and do it. You know what I'm saying? So give me a quarterback that's playing better, and we can have this conversation, but I don't see one.
Yeah, and here are the quarterbacks that are rated in terms of overall percentage, in terms of passing percentage and all of that. C.J. Stroud, Sam Howell, Tua, Jared Goff, and then Dak. That's the situation there. Fifth in terms of the amount of passing yards is what Dak has, 3,234 yards here.
And who's number one on touchdowns?
Right, he's number one. Yeah, exactly. So he's got that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's a fantastic quarterback, and he's in those conversations for the amount of things that he's doing. He has a 70% completion rating, which no one else has other than Tua. He's got 26 touchdowns, leads the whole league in touchdowns thrown right now. It's only 2 above Tua, but still in the lead. Only 6 interceptions all year. That's incredible. The only person who has less interceptions, which is shocking to me, is Kenny Pickett, who has been playing all the games here.
Well, there's I'll give you there's a few. Lamar Jackson, but he's at 13 touchdowns right now through the air.
Right.
CJ Stroud, but again, he's out playing Stroud at this point, even though Stroud, like there's something to be said about what this kid is doing.
Right.
But then of the rest of the main starters of these teams, nobody's in the conversation with him. They're all turning over the ball significantly more than he is. Yeah. So he may not be number one in a bunch of categories, but what he is like 2, 2, 3, 2, 2. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm being objective here and looking at how this dude is fucking playing.
And he's rated at 108 for the season so far, which is the top, which is, I think only Brock Purdy has a higher rating at 116.
Mm-hmm.
He's had a couple of perfect rating games, which affect the ratings overall. So, it's an interesting conversation to have, but I think Dak absolutely has the lead for me in MVP.
Because I just even realized it. Mm-hmm. Like Brock Purdy, and again, this goes to show how that offense is ran, and knowing that Purdy does have enough of the sauce, but still realizing he's a young quarterback, and I'm not turning the keys over to you. He has 332 attempts versus Dak's 411.
Yeah.
And Purdy has 70.2% completion rate, and Dak Prescott with over 80 more, almost 80 more throws has a 70.1.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. I agree. So, I'm a Commanders fan. It's hard for me to give love to a Cowboys quarterback, but some things you can't deny. And certainly what Dak is doing is incredible. Let's take one more break and we'll jump into the last 2 games and then get into the rest of the NFL games here right after this. All right, let's run through these next two games kind of quickly here, Winston, and then we'll get into the rest. Jake Browning stole the spotlight last night after in this game here between the Bengals and the Jaguars. He threw for 354 yards on 32 of 37 passing. Let me tell you something. That's Joe Burrow numbers. Those are nice Joe Burrow numbers to have here, especially after that debacle of a game he had last week against the Steelers. This was a hell of a way for him to bounce back, lead these Jaguars to a victory. Lead these Bengals to a victory over the Jaguars in overtime. And now the Bengals are 6-6 and are back into the conversation for the playoffs. A lot of people were thinking maybe they wouldn't be getting in the playoffs now with Joe Burrow down. If Jake Browning, who was making his second career start in this game, continues this kind of approach to the game and this kind of play, the Bengals aren't going to miss a beat here. And I wonder what happens as we talk about the Jaguars. Are they going to start tumbling down? It's all going to depend on Trevor Lawrence's ankle. But Jamar Chase had 11 catches for 149 yards and a touchdown. Joe Mixon ran for 2 touchdowns and 68 yards. Even rookie Chase Brown added 61 yards on the ground here. And T. Higgins came back from injury, catching 3 catches for 36 yards, his first game in a month. So the Bengals, if they start humming again, holy shit, I don't know what to do with the AFC. As I said, it's going to be fun to see what happens in these next 6 weeks with these positions for the playoffs. What are your thoughts coming out of this game on the Bengals? We already talked about the Jaguars for the most part. So what are your thoughts about the Bengals and what Browning was able to do here?
I mean, good for Jake Browning, man. Like that's kind of crazy. And like, I think what it really helps him, what a supporting cast he has around him. To help him. So to have Mixon, who, only ran for 68, but got in the end zone twice for you on the ground, to have Jamar Chase go 149 and a touchdown, and that crazy bobble catch, bro. That's like he's the man, dude. For Higgins, you got to see he only had 3 catches, but that one on the sideline that helped determine the game, like that's why they were panicking about, God, we got to find a way to pay this dude. But I think after everything that's all said and done, and after what happened to Burrow and all these sacks, bro, I think you're going to have to let Higgins go so you can pay some linemen, because you have to protect Burrow next year and going forward, or you're going to lose your young quarterback. I just think I'm looking at this and I'm just like, wow, like they really could stay in this mix and mix it up. I don't think they're going to win the division. I think the Ravens have pretty much locked that up. But they could sneak a wild card, which would be fucking crazy.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think Pittsburgh is going to eventually recede to the mean and go back and maybe finish out 9-7. Oh, sorry, 9-8 or whatever, 8-9. I don't really see Pittsburgh hanging on with Pickett. Pickett's starting to show issues, as we saw in the Arizona game. Cleveland, I mean, they don't have a good starting quarterback at this point. So that's pretty much kind of out, in my opinion, out of contention. So Cincinnati could start moving up if they get some victories here over the next few weeks, and if Browning continues his play. The Colts game next week is going to be real interesting. We're going to get into Colts in a second, because both of these teams are fighting for those final playoff spots, and that game is going to go a long way to determining it. Then they've got the Vikings, the Steelers, the Chiefs, and the Browns. Only tough game I see for them there is the Chiefs, maybe.
So I'm curious, who do you think is going to end up in those last couple wild? So like, let's look at it. Let's make the assumption for right now. I mean, obviously the Jacksonville Jaguars have a giant hanging Chad going on right now without knowing what happens with Trevor.
So we can lock them at 4 is what you're saying.
But let's lock them at 4. So you've got the Steelers, Browns, Colts.
Yeah.
Then you got Texans, Broncos, Bengals, and Bills all in the mix. Right. I don't really trust the Chargers or Raiders. Anybody below that, I don't really trust. No. So let's say that they're all not in the mix, right?
And I'm sorry to Ed, because the Jets are down there at 4-8. I know they just signed Brett Rippon off the Seahawks practice squad, but that's still not going to be enough. They let go of Tim Boyle today and signed Brett Rippon. Poor Tim Boyle. The Tim Boyle era is over. But yes, so you're asking me who's going to take 5, 6, and 7.
5, 6, and 7 of those teams that are essentially the Steelers through the Bills. Who do you think those 3 teams? And I don't care what order. We don't need to worry about that. But just give me 3.
There are so many questions, but I would say the Texans are going to get in there. I think the Colts, from what I saw, we're going to talk about the game yesterday. That was the game to lose for them to knock them out in my minds of the playoffs. But the fact that they got the job done and beat these Titans the way they did, it showed a resolve and a strength. And Minshew is kind of an X factor. The mustache is an X factor. And so I want to throw them in the mix. So Texans, Colts, that's going to leave me the Browns, the Steelers, the Broncos, or the Bengals, or the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Bengals. And I had Broncos initially in the playoffs, but that loss to the Texans may cause some issues, especially Russell throwing 3 interceptions. We may see them shake a little bit over the next few weeks, so we shall see. But right now, I initially had them in there, but after that game with the Texans, I've got questions again. But if Browning continues his play, and look, that is the best trio of receivers. Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. That's a hell of a threesome. That's going to help a young quarterback feel more comfortable in the position that he's in for the rest of the year. And Mixon is balling out as well. So you've got a lot of weapons and a lot of assistance for Browning to get over the hump in some of these games. And so I think that team is going to sneak in there and get one of those spots. So I think the Bengals are out, or the Browns are out, the Steelers will be out, the Broncos are out, and the Bills are out. I just don't see the Bills bouncing back mentally. They just look fried, man.
Yeah, it was, I think the thing for them is that I think that coming off the bye, they could. However, I'd really opened up their schedule. And while you do have the Chargers and the Patriots there, which seem like 2 layup wins, you got to play the Dolphins again.
Yes.
Which, yes, you beat them last time, you beat them last time and you beat them pretty handily. The Dolphins are starting to figure themselves out. You got to play the Chiefs, which despite all of their troubles, Patrick Mahomes is still Josh Allen's daddy. And I don't think they're beating us, not the way that we're playing right now. So that makes it very hard for them. So if I have to choose, I'm probably going Texans because I think they're doing something special right now. I'm going to stick with the Broncos just because I said they were going, if they made the playoffs, they're going to the AFC Championship game. So I'm trying to keep that going.
Okay.
And if I got to pick one, man, I think after how they played last night, I think the Bengals.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they just have a lot of weapons, and they've got a strong defense. And I think that defense, if they believe in Browning, they're going to play even harder, man. They're going to play even harder.
And you have a little bit of an easier schedule than a lot of these other teams. You got the Colts, which I know you said they're mixing it up, so that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. But the Vikings seem to have regressed. Dobbs had that initial moment that people were like, we don't know how to deal with them in the system, but he seems to have fully regressed now.
Yeah.
The Steelers can be got.
Because Pickett's out now. It's going to be Trubisky.
Yeah, then that's the Chiefs. That's going to be rough. Good luck with that. But then you can get the Browns. So I think that means the Bengals go 1, 2, 3, 4-1 to end this. If they do that, that puts them at 10-7.
Yeah.
And you can do it that way. It's just it has to be 4-1. If not 5-0.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
the Broncos have the Chargers, the Lions, the Patriots, the Chargers again, the Raiders. Now, the Chargers, you don't know what you got in the Chargers. I mean, that horrible victory over the Patriots 6-0. It's like, what the fuck? How can you not win by more? So who knows what mental condition the Chargers are going to be in? Is it pride? Are they going to be ready? Are they going to think they have an outside shot? You don't know, and you got to play that team twice. So who knows what's going to happen with the Broncos? And that's an interdivisional game. That's a divisional game. So twice, you got to play them twice. And that's a scary situation. The Lions are going to be tough. I think the Patriots are a victory. And you don't know what you got in the Raiders as well. You don't know if Pierce in the last game of the season and those Raiders want to play spoiler for the Broncos. You just don't know, man.
Hey,
it's pretty hairy for them.
You want to see something wild?
Yeah.
So Ian Rappaport has put out playoff clinching scenarios for the Cowboys, Eagles, and 49ers. So here we go. Shout out to Haskell, who I believe just sent this to us. Here we go.
Yeah.
So for this game, this Sunday night game coming up on my birthday, Dallas will clinch a playoff berth with share the screen if you want to pull that up.
Yeah, sure. Let me bring my
So Dallas win, Minnesota loss or tie, Green Bay loss or tie, Seahawks loss, Tampa Bay loss or tie, Detroit win or tie, Rams loss or tie. So as long as Green Bay and Minnesota both don't tie, or if Dallas wins, Minnesota lost or tie, Green Bay lost or tie, Seattle lost, Tampa Bay lost or tie, Detroit win or tie, New Orleans lost or tie, as long as they're not, or Dallas win, Minnesota lost and tie, Green Bay lost and tie, Seattle lost, Tampa Bay tie, Detroit won tie. We're still kind of really in the mix because we don't have the division quite yet, right?
Ugh.
Philly clinches playoff berth with a Philly win and a Seahawks loss or tie, or Philly win and a Rams loss or tie, or
That's it. Wow.
Philly win and a Green Bay loss or tie, Minnesota loss or tie, or Philly win, Green Bay loss or tie, Detroit loss, or Philly tie, Los Angeles Rams loss, Seattle loss, or Philly tie, Los Angeles loss, Minnesota loss or tie, or Philly tie. Y'all can see the shit. You
It's
can see it.
crazy.
I'm not going to go through all that. So there's a lot of scenarios. But here's the big one. And this is just goes to show that the Niners are just in their own shit, bro.
Yeah.
Niners win, Green Bay loss. Niners win, Minnesota loss. Niners win, Green Bay tie, Minnesota tie. So it's just kind of crazy how that all plays out. And a lot of that just has to do with the fact that the Niners do not have anybody in their division mixing it up with them the way that we are with Philly. That's why there's so many like question marks for us two.
Right.
We'll still both make the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? But it's not, the birth ain't happening this weekend unless a lot of stuff is happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, the Cowboys may inadvertently help the 49ers keep home field advantage throughout the playoffs by beating these Eagles in a head-to-head with the Cowboys. The 49ers have beaten you guys, so the 49ers would retain or get home field advantage for the playoffs if you beat the Eagles and everything stays the
That's
same.
the thing, bro. I need both the Eagles and the Niners to drop a few games. I need us to win, and I need them to drop a few games. No, you said keep dreaming. The Eagles have already been proven, and now they've been slapped in the mouth. Like most likely, they will wake up. I think we will still beat them.
Okay.
So then that's a 2-game losing streak, and then who they have left, like based off of what's left on their thing, bro. And I said this before, cupcake the rest of the way. Then Seattle, which clearly played well, and Seattle could do the same thing. So they could go on a 3-game losing streak. They could go on a 3-game losing streak, but then you're not losing to the Giants twice and the Cardinals. I think they win out those last 3, but I think they can lose 2 more, right? The Niners, though, no. Looking at these motherfuckers, like, no, not the way they're playing and not who they're playing. The Niners are out here in these streets, bro. They play Seattle, dub. They play the Cardinals, dub. They play the Ravens, interesting.
But I think
could potentially even be a Super Bowl matchup preview.
I think.
Then Commanders, sorry, bro.
Upset, bro. In Washington.
Sorry, bro.
I'm flying in for that. New Year's
Come on. Are you being for? I love you. Are you being real?
Half of me wants to fly in to see that game just to be in the stands and tell my grandkids that I'm never going to have. That I saw Brock Purdy play. And
then the Rams.
The Rams will be frisky. The Rams always play the 49ers frisky because McVay and Shanahan they know each other's moves, man. They're like exes that know every shitty thing the other one is going to do. So that's going to be a frisky game. But the other ones I think are most likely going to be W's.
They do. So I just don't. The only L I see 2 potential L's for the Niners, and only one of them do I really believe is a real possibility, and that's Christmas Day against the Ravens. But I think they got the Seahawks. I'm not really worried about that, especially how they abused them 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
I think they got the Cardinals, no problem. I think they got Commanders, no problem. Sorry. And then I honestly don't think I hear what you said about the Rams. The Rams aren't the Rams that does things right now. So I just
turn things around. I don't know.
I know we have a hard road ahead to go play the Eagles. We got this is a gambit. But if we win this gambit, if we really come out on top of this gambit, I think we can go the distance because now you're getting your tests.
Yeah,
your first test was Seattle, or as Keyshawn said, that was an open book quiz.
Yeah,
you passed. You barely passed, but you passed. But now we got Eagles, Bills, Dolphins, Lions. That's 4.
Yeah,
I'm not even throwing you in there because I'm not worried about you. But the other 4,
keep driving it in. This is bad karma on you.
But the next 4 that we're dealing with, they're gonna be rough.
There's nothing that would make us happier
than to ruin shit for
than
us.
To play you motherfuckers at the last game of the season and keep you from winning the division. There is nothing.
I know.
Nothing.
That would be your Super Bowl. I know.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Sell commercials to that one. 100%. I would say, but it's a tough road. You got, the Bills.
It's a tough road.
Eagles, Bills, Dolphins. That is a tough threesome. I know the Bills are Jekyll and Hyde, but they can play when they want to play. The Lions as well. I mean, those 4 games alone are fucking just hard games to win for the Cowboys. But if they get through it, maybe even go 3-1 through those 4 games, then you got to start talking seriously about them being Super Bowl contenders and about Dak being the front runner for MVP far and away. So,
bro,
it's a great
Stephen A. Smith said that the Cowboys are a bigger threat to the 49ers than the Eagles. Stephen A., my nigga don't fucking say nothing nice about us. He says CeeDee Lamb is a stud. Dak Prescott is finally playing some ball. Micah Parsons is a stud. But the Cowboys ain't gonna do nothing. Ain't nobody worried about no Dallas Cowboys. I like Jerry Jones. He's a nice guy. I like to be up in his booth. But ain't nobody worried about no Cowboys. And yet he says that we're a bigger threat to the 49ers. My God.
Yeah, that's
also, where the fuck did I learn how to do a Stephen A impression? Where the fuck did that come from? Holy shit, bro. I must be on one.
I have a comment, but I don't want to get canceled. All right, let's
wait a minute. I know the outlaw John Rocha ain't out here saying he got a comment. They got the balls to back it up.
Yeah, Stephen A. is like a politician, man. He flip-flops every week.
That is egregious. I can't believe the outlaw would say that. Stephen A. has never supported the Cowboys.
I would love.
He's always hated everything about us. Man, those fans. I love making those fans miserable because every time that they think they're gonna do something, those fans get embarrassed. Don't worry, the Cowboys will blow it. But I think that they could actually give the Niners a run for their money. I didn't know I could do that shit. I didn't fucking know I could do that, bro.
We got a lot of other games here real quick. We'll just course through this game and then get to the rest of them here. Gardner Minshew threw for a touchdown in overtime as the Colts beat the Titans, as I said earlier here, 31-28. Sam Laporta, who had a career day for the Lions, and Saints quarterback Derek Carr was hurt as Detroit kept their train going here with a victory 33-28. Tyreek Hill had 2 touchdowns as the Dolphins mollywopped my Commanders 45-15. For fuck's sake, can you fire Ron Rivera already? They clearly do not want to play for him. I don't give a fuck what they say to the local news reporters. They do not want to play for Ron Rivera anymore. That was an embarrassing situation there. Matthew Stafford threw 3 touchdowns here as the Rams won their 3rd straight. Kind of shocking, turning it around here. 36-19 over the Browns. James Conner scored twice against the Steelers here to help the Cardinals beat them 24-10, knocking out Kenny Pickett for quite some time here. We'll see what the overall analysis will be or assessment will be. Desmond Ridder and the Falcons did just enough to beat the Jets here 13-8. Evans scored on a 75-yard touchdown pass and topped 1,000 yards for the 10th straight year here. And that's Mike Evans, as the Buccaneers beat the Panthers 21-18. And the Chargers beat the Patriots, as I said, with a couple of field goals, 6-0. Anything to talk about from this situation, Winston? From these games, rather? Anything you want to highlight?
Derek Carr and Dennis Allen have to fucking go. They have to, because here's the thing that we haven't talked about the Saints a lot because they've just been kind of middling and whatnot.
Of course, yeah.
What is so embarrassing to me, and it's interesting watching Saints fans. It's interesting watching some of the Saints receivers now.
Yeah.
Derek Carr is soft, bro. He is soft because there is this weird air, the same thing that Marshawn was saying about Russell. Nobody was allowed to criticize Russell. Dennis Allen won't say anything about Carr. People aren't allowed to say shit about Carr when all these receivers are like, my niggas put me up to get concussions. How many fucking of these receivers ended up with concussions or broken legs or whatever the fuck? Because he's throwing them into bad positions.
Yeah.
He's doing bad plays. When Jameis Winston is out balling you, and Jameis is fun because it feels like he's just like, fuck it, and he's just like all over the place. But when Jameis is out playing you in these small moments that he gets to play, bro, Derek Carr needs to be held accountable, and I don't think that he is. And I get it, and it sucks that he keeps getting hurt. That makes me feel bad for him in that regard. But like, 2 of my best friends are massive Saints fans, and they're like, it's pathetic that they can't say the actual thing that's happening, that he is soft and he's not playing well.
Yeah.
And so there's that. Other than that, it's like I said, Tyreek Hill in my mind is the MVP.
Yeah.
He's not going to win it because unless he does something blow your mind crazy, because unfortunately we don't put enough respect on skill positions when they're having incredible seasons like this. But like, my guy is doing things we have never seen. He is let's see here. He is 300 yards ahead of CD, who's having an incredible season himself. Yeah. He's got 12 touchdowns, which is the next highest is 10 out of Mike Evans, which is he's over here having his quiet little 1,000-yard like baller season and whatnot. He's got 12 touchdowns. The next is 10, and then after that is 7.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Like, his yards after catch is 604.
Yeah.
So again, this ain't no Tua.
Yeah.
This ain't no goddamn Tua. 604 yards after catch. He's averaging 123 yards per game. The next closest is Justin Jefferson, who hasn't been around for forever with 114. And then after that is CD at 98. Like, he is insane what he is doing. And the fact that he's not going to get MVP is infuriating.
Yeah. It's a great point. We'll see what happens. All right, let's see. We haven't had one Streamlab the whole show. You all, what the hell is going on? At least some of you all send in Streamlabs. Nobody has sent a Streamlab. Did I not bang the drum loudly enough? I said it was Christmas. I said it's how we keep the show going.
I said it was Christmas.
For God's sakes, what more do you want? Am I coming to your house and beating up your cat? I don't want to do it. Don't make me fucking do it.
My God.
Send in some support here for Game Time. You've been loving the show. We got 60 to 70 of you hanging out with us the whole show. Send in some love here over the next 20 minutes as we're wrapping up the show.
Not Rocha. Not Rocha out here in the streets being like, Santa, you better turn over them. You fucking Riley from the Boondocks? You gonna pay what you owe? You gonna beat Santa? Like, what the like, Jesus.
Don't make me treat you like Tyler Perry on that episode.
You didn't even you're out here talking about, I didn't even ask for a whole car. I just wanted some rims. That's it. Like, you can't even bring no rims? Damn, Rocha.
How much for one rib? How much? Could you pour it in my hand? Can you pour the water in my hand? Let's move on here. God damn it. Send-ins. Oh, Sean, we already eviscerated your Chiefs, Sean. You're way late here. 90 minutes late, Sean. We've already destroyed Patrick Mahomes and your Chiefs.
That's why he's so late. He did that on purpose, so he wouldn't have to.
I missed my alarm after I got upset by the Packers here. So you know what? You should send in $20, Sean, to apologize. That's what I think. All right, let's move on to this last section here. And this is the section that I've been dying to talk about. My Florida State Seminoles got fucked over by the college football playoff committee here when they issued the top 4 teams to be involved in the college football playoff. My Seminoles, who were undefeated, Power 5 conference, played a Power 5 schedule, did everything they needed to do, lost the starting quarterback with 3 games left in the season, won all 3 of those games with the second-string quarterback and then a third-string quarterback, including third-string quarterback in a conference championship game, handily beating the Louisville Cardinals here. At the end of University of Louisville, at the end of the day, we got passed over by these one-loss teams like Bama and Texas, and they took the final 2 spots here, 3 and 4, and it is an absolute travesty. I'm not the only one who feels this way. Booger McFarland, a bunch of people who are analysts, who have Stuart Mendel, a lot of people across the world of college football who are much smarter than me and have followed college football with much more incisiveness than I have, will tell you the same thing. The only people defending this decision are Kirk Herbstreit and a bunch of ESPN people who possibly have the marching orders to defend the college football playoff committee and their decisions. It is an absolute travesty what has happened here. It has never happened in the history of college football playoff since this has been around for the last few years, that a Power 5 conference team that is the champion of their conference wins out and doesn't get into the college football playoff. And they're using some stupid excuse like Travis Gabriel going down, Jordan Travis going down and 3 games ago and saying it's not the same team. if we can win games without our starting quarterback, which I guarantee you none of those top 4 teams could do, that speaks even more volumes that we are a team, not just a one quarterback team. And that's the difference there at the end of the day. They put Bama in over us. Bama, who had gotten their asses mollywopped by Texas at home by double digits, somehow qualified more because they beat Georgia. And somehow they put Georgia behind us. It's just crazy how we're better than Georgia, which was the number 1 team in the country all whole season, but now they lose once to Bama by 3 points, and somehow they're behind us, yet we're not good enough to qualify for the fucking college football playoff. Fucking travesty. I don't know if you know anything about this, Winston, but
I don't really, no, absolutely. And I've seen a lot of people get really angry about this whole thing, and understandably so. But this is the reason why I don't follow college football.
Yeah,
because your shit is nonsense. There's an infinite number. There's an infinite number of teams, so that makes the playoffs weird. I've always said that, like, honestly, they need to expand this out to like a Sweet 16, end football a little bit earlier, and have a legitimate playoff system.
Well, next year it's going to be the top 8 teams, so which is
a step up for sure.
Step up, right? Exactly.
But I think push it back even another 2 weeks.
Yeah,
because you can still have your bowl games and whatnot, and have them built into that whole bracket. But it should be 16. Because there's a lot of these teams that end up with these schedules that they end up undefeated or 12-1 or something like that, and let them really mix it up and figure that shit the fuck out, because there's a lot of teams that you can make arguments for. I always thought 4 teams was the goofiest shit ever. I'm glad they expanded it somewhat versus just we're just going to decide who's going to play for the championship. But I always thought 4 teams was the goofiest shit I've ever heard. This isn't a fucking 10-team fantasy football league. Yeah. You're talking about college football that has hundreds of schools. All right. So there's that. I also throw in the fact that, like, I understand what the argument people are making, because who you guys were with your starting quarterback is very different. Now, you deserve all the credit in the fucking world for losing him and still balling out on people. You deserve that for sure. But I understand what they're getting at when again, with college being so ridiculous. Now, I agree that you shouldn't have been the one out. Alabama should have been the one out.
Yes.
The only thing that Alabama got them in this, and I see it in this article that you sent us, and I agree with it. It's the bullshit of, like, well, you do know one of those playoff spots is for the SEC, and that's a money thing. That is some lobbying bullshit, and that's mad disrespectful for the idea of what an actual college playoff is. Yeah. And then they're also thinking, as many things have been known to happen, how many times have we seen a team that really isn't that, but because that's a Belichick team, that's a Brady-led team, that's a whatever the fuck it is, and I know I'm talking pros at this point, but that's enough to say, Bama's done it enough times, and they beat Georgia, and like you said, it was by 3, so it wasn't like they blew them out. They barely won that game. Right. And that's the thing. I think that was a mistake for sure, but that's 1,000% what it is.
Yeah, and I see the arguments here, right, with Bama. Look, here's the deal. In life, just because you do better later does not mean you don't still pay for the mistakes you made before. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just because a team is getting better at the end of the season, they don't let you into the NFL playoffs, right? Your losses matter on your record. The same thing should happen here. They lost to Texas, second game of the season, got destroyed, and now, but somehow that doesn't matter, because now at the end of the year, they won games and they won the SEC championship. And the SEC championship, this is the worst the SEC has been in 10 years statistically. Mm-hmm. They just fuck each other incestuously and think, because I've got victories over this team within our own conference. But the conference wasn't even that great. Their best victory out of conference was Kentucky, of all teams, beating Louisville. That's it. That's their best victory outside the conference for any of these teams. And that includes Bama, who again got beat by Texas. You got beat by Texas, and great. You won all those games. You won the SEC championship. Fine. You knocked Georgia out. Live with that. But you don't get into the college football playoff because you didn't win out. We did. And I think that's the thing at the end of the day. And you look, and they throw in some of these numbers here. Now, I don't want to go conspiracy theorist, even though ESPN has a $3 billion contract with the SEC and only a $60 million contract with the ACC. I'm not going to throw that. I mean, I know a lot of people have been doing that. It's about the integrity of the game. What's the message you're trying to send? Is it about let's make as much money as possible? Or is it the integrity of college kids fighting and overcoming adversity and winning even when they've been handed a terrible situation like our starting quarterback going down 3 games before the end of the season. That's the difference there. So the message they send is basically, we're going to pick and choose who we think is going to get the best ratings and make the most money for us, not who we think earned the shot in there. And I see some people bringing up TCU. First of all, fuck TCU. They haven't won a national championship since the 1930s. Florida State is a current powerhouse, has won national championships since 2002 of them. They've come back to life under Mike Norvell, and we would not be TCU. You know why? Because our defense is in fucking TCU. Our defense is stocked with future NFL players, and they manhandled Louisville. We didn't barely win that game. We suffocated the fuck out of Louisville. That's what we did. We will do that against Michigan. We will do that against Bama. People forget Milroe was shit for the first 2 weeks of the season and needed a fourth quarter miracle to beat a shitty Auburn team in Jordan Hare. Those are those things you look at. And you know why we'll beat Michigan? Because Jim Harbaugh hasn't been spending all 2 seasons stealing our signs. So you'd have to actually play from scratch with us and play on a fair play field. And so to me, at the end of the day, this is a horrible message to send. And they essentially took the money rather than honoring the spirit of the game and honoring college kids playing the game. It's just frustrating to see that happen in this situation. That's the thing.
Come on now, John.
Come on.
You know I respect you. You know I respect you, Outlaw. You know that I've seen the great things you've done for the game of the Schmodown. You know how much I know you were an FSU fan. You out there screaming with everybody else. You are one of the greats to ever be a part of the game. But are you actually asking the question if this is about real competition or if it's about money? We know goddamn well that the NCAA is just about money. That's why they ain't pay these goddamn players. They had to go and get money from commercials. You know better than that, Rocha. I expect better out of you. Come on now.
But it's
ain't nobody here to watch this game. If they wanted to do that, they would have done that out in a park somewhere. Let these kids just play for fun. These are $1 billion stadiums, Rocha. AT&T's a sponsor of half these fucking teams, Rocha.
That's true.
Ain't nobody here for no goddamn fun or honor. It's for money, Rocha. That's what Geico will have to fire Nick Saban if he's on the playoffs.
I want to bring this up. One more thing. I love your Stephen A. It's very good. I love this is a new thing for the show. But look, Heather Dinich, who I respect, and look, it's a tough thing to be a female reporter in college football, especially a pundit, a writer. She's on ESPN. She's really, kind of blossomed and grown over the last few years. Incredible reporter. Never going to denigrate Heather and what she's accomplished in a male-dominated world. That being said, she is one of the first people that said that she didn't think Florida State deserved to get in. She wrote the article for ESPN breaking down why this happened to Florida State, and she put this in the article. It wasn't until the ACC championship game began to unfold, though, that the members' opinions began to truly take shape. The group grew concerned as it watched the Noles struggle to get a first down in the first half. There is a section of the committee protocol that specifically refers to the unavailability of key players that may have affected the team's performance during the season or likely will affect its postseason performance. That allowed the committee to do something it intentionally avoids every other week: look ahead. They did not look ahead when Ohio State lost their top 2 starting quarterbacks and Cardale Jones came in as the 3rd-string quarterback and led them to a national championship. Then they're upset. And let me even take that argument off the board. It was not going to be our 3rd-string quarterback. Tate Rodemaker had passed the concussion symptom situation after the Louisville game. Tate was fine to come back and be our 2nd-string quarterback. Tate led us to victory in Florida against the SEC Florida Gators in the swamp in the game 2 weeks ago. Tate, when he took over last year against Louisville, led 3 75-yard scoring drives. Tate is a damn good backup quarterback. We'd have been fine against Michigan. We'd have been fine against Bama or Texas. We'd have been fucking fine. Washington, that's a whole nother ball game. I think we've gotten killed by Washington because I love Washington as a team. But I think we'd have held our own against Michigan, Texas, or Bama. Whoever the fuck you wanted to put in there, we would have been fine. Our defense is something none of these fuckers have seen. None, okay? Say all you want, but our defense is absolutely fucking stacked. and would handle anything, especially Milroe, who is a histrionic, emotional, unstable kid who's crying that he should have gotten nominated for a Heisman after he shit the bed for the first 2 weeks of the season and barely beat Auburn. So to me, this is the thing at the end of the day. I think we'd have mentally fucked Milroe into pieces if we had played Bama. I think we could have handled Texas no problem. It's Washington, and then Michigan would have been a tighter game, I think, for us, but we could have eked it out because we're a great defense. So at the end of the day, they fucked us for their money, and that's my honest truth.
John, let me ask you a question. Do you remember what the score was for the last NCAA championship game?
But they did, Jeremy. Tate played well. All right, go ahead.
John, I ask you again. Do you remember what the score was for the last NCAA championship football game?
56-3. Yes. TCU.
65-7.
That's it. It was close enough.
Do you remember what the score was the year before that?
I don't. No, I don't.
33-18.
Who were the teams in those?
And that was Georgia and Bama.
Georgia and Bama.
Do you remember what the score was before that?
No, I don't remember.
52-24. I'm going to tell you right now, as these ratings are going down, John, it became clear that if we're going to keep up and make people give a damn about college football championships, you need to put teams in that actually might guarantee you something. Now, Bama's not going to be it, but that means Bama's going to get bounced. What that also means is that if FSU had figured that out, but then got against a Texas or a Michigan, and then they got bounced, then it would be ridiculous that nobody would be watching. So, John, we know that Bama's going to get handled. And that means you're going to have a real two teams in that championship. You had the fear that you end up with this young man who just had a concussion, that he gets another concussion, and you don't have a real quarterback to play. And then you get bounced out 100-3. We can't have that.
Listen. First of all, TCU beat Michigan to get into that national championship game last year. So whatever the score was, they still beat Michigan. So Michigan is beatable by a team outside of its fucking conference. So we could have beaten Michigan. So all these kids, and I would say Tate was a better quarterback than the TCU kid. So
John,
that to me is a situation.
John, you drive me crazy. You're just like those goddamn delusional Cowboys fans. You just always think that you were right there. Yeah. But we already know you ain't got Jameis Winston and his crab leg stealing ass.
Come on now.
You got what it takes right now, and that's fine. Maybe next year you'll come back and do it, but John, you just need to understand. This is not your year.
Clearly. I feel like Brando in on the waterfront. I could have been a contender, Jolly, but you said it wasn't my night. I am so tempted to go. I need to find Michigan people who are going to this national semifinal game. It is at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. If I'm going to risk getting COVID, it'll be for my petty hate of Bama right now and the NCAA to cheer on Michigan like a crazy rabid Wolverine.
Which is funny.
So that if Michigan beats Bama 58-10, what the fuck are they going to say then? That, we didn't want to see Florida State get mollywopped. Well, Bama just got mollywopped by Michigan. So fuck you and your excuses. So I hope to God I find a way to get into that stadium and cheer for Michigan, who I used to love for the Fab Bar.
John, it's amazing to see this man that 2 minutes ago was calling John Harbaugh the villain of the year. Is now all of a sudden rooting for Lex Luthor to take down.
That's a good point.
What is this at this point? This is like Robin. Is that who Bama is? This is Tim Drake has been hanging out enough time with Batman that this is a situation where you're like, I'm gonna go ahead and let Tim Drake try and do what he can. Red Robin. I go to Red Robin and get burgers sometimes. And sometimes they're okay.
Through a certain prism, the Joker's not that bad.
And this is where we've come. See, you FSU fans are just like these goddamn Cowboy fans.
Oh, man. Oh man, no, I love it, dude. We'll see. We'll see with the situation.
You know what I'm about to do for the next fucking few days, bro.
I don't have any impression for these. Most I can do is maybe Mad Mike. You're wrong, Stephen A. Let me tell you why you're wrong. Exactly why you're wrong. That's
this again. For the love of God.
All right, let's hit. So anyway, that's my tirade. Thank you, Winston, for staying on the show to let me do that, and thank you all for watching that.
If I can't do it as Winston, at least Stephen A. can deal with the bullshit.
And I'll tell you how bad this decision is. Dan Murrell posted about it on Instagram, and Dan Murrell doesn't post about anything but movies on Instagram, and he posted about the travesty of this decision.
Well, hold on. You're gonna bring up Dan Murrell? I understand that Dan Murrow is a loved Seminole, okay?
Yes,
if he wants to come to me and he wants to say things about why he has issues with the Marvels, I enjoyed the Marvels, but I understand why Dan Murrow, of all people, would have issues and would say them properly. But if Dan Murrow wants to talk to me about football, I didn't ask you about movies, sir.
Yeah.
I asked you about quarterback play.
This may be my new TikTok.
This is my TikTok. You're not gonna put this on your TikTok. This is you are downright disgraceful, John Rocha. You really are an outlaw.
That's true. 100%. Okay, so we got some Streamlabs that came through, Winston. So let's run through them because I know we got to go here. Fredtastic saying, showing support. Thanks for doing the show. Thank you, Fred. FSU got screwed, but weren't the top four best and but weren't the top four best and deserving teams. I see this as a comeuppance for 2014 when they were undefeated and selected, then lost 59-20 to Oregon, while two better teams were out because of one loss. But we don't know that those one-loss teams wouldn't have lost anyway to Oregon. That was a stacked Oregon team, and they came at it, and Jameis had been carrying the pressure, and Jameis just broke in that game. I watched that game. It was heartbreaking. The falling backwards interception, just all of it was terrible. But that happens in semifinal games. That happens. I mean, for fuck's sake. And Fred also said, he already said that. And Roberto Taylor says, go blue and go Niners. I want Purdy to be the Super Bowl MVP, but the regular season MVP is to be determined. Entertaining show as usual. So thank you, gentlemen, for all you do. So there you go. Thank you very much to all three of those. And Fred, you sent that twice. If you want to be okay sending it twice, thank you. If not, you can pull one down. I won't be mad at you. All right, Winston, anything you want to say? Any final words? Are we good with sports? Are we good?
If you mess with my boy Winston A. Marshall, make sure you go to the Swaggy Blood here on YouTube. He's been doing these reviews on Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, the CPT reviews. You know what CPT stands for, John?
No, I don't. What does it stand for?
Colored people time. Because apparently brothers are late all the time.
Yes. You all seem to get away with it. Just try to play you some music that goes along.
I appreciate that. But either way, no, real talk. Please go follow me on the Swaggy Blurred, man. I guess I'm about to spend the rest of today. I have to take phone calls for work. They're about to get Stephen A. yelling at them about wine because I'm going to have to go ahead and fucking fine tune this shit so I can start posting this. Because that might be a new thing I'm doing. I might have to do a Law and Order SVU because I haven't done it in a minute and have Stephen A. somehow talking to fucking Tutuola because this is some awesome crazy shit.
You should do your movie reviews like this.
Daniel Day-Lewis. Now that's a bad man. That's a bad man. Napoleon. Joaquin Phoenix. But yeah, no, real talk. Go find me at the Swaggy Blurred, man, please. I've been doing my CPT reviews. I started off with Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I'm going through Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, and I'm back. I think the best part, man, for those of you that were there, thank you so much for coming to the comedy show last weekend.
Yes.
I'm back, baby. I'm really at it doing stand-up again. I'm meeting with a number of folks that I knew back in the day that did it, and I'm going to be out there. So next year, keep an eye out.
Nice, dude.
Who knows about me touring? That'll be a whole other conversation. You got to build up to that, but I'll certainly be in the Los Angeles area doing shows and stuff like that. So just a lot of love. So please go to all the platforms at the Swaggy Blurred. Again, the least you could do if you can't, if you haven't already, if you can't afford to send this to Streamlabs, stuff like that, it means the world to me for you to go and follow me on all these platforms, because then when it is time to book shows, when it is time for all that stuff, I can point to those said numbers and stuff. So I would greatly appreciate that.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Same thing here. Please remember to follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, The Outlaw Nation on Twitch. Subscribe to our sports channel down below if you haven't done that already. Head over to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/John Rocha Says. We're about to go live in a couple of hours with the hot mic. We're now doing 2 episodes for a week for the month of December, because we're going to give you a taste of that second episode, and then we're going to put that behind the Patreon for you all going forward in 2024. So come and hang out while you can today at 3 o'clock over on the Outlaw Nation channel for a fun 1 hour episode with me and Jeff Snyder. All right, y'all are the best. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Enjoy the rest of the week of football. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here of Game Time. Peace.